Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 916 for the 27th of August. And the Ukrainians, if you have watched the Frontline Changes report, you probably would have known. Even if you didn't watch the latest one, you watched the yesterday one, you probably already know the shit hit the pants thing, and the Ukrainians are struggling because in the Kursk offensive they're not getting the PR victory they need to cover up the failures in the Pokrovsk direction. So they have started to do something over in the Kherson front. So over at the Kherson front, which means that we're going to do it in the anti-clockwise direction, the Ukrainian forces launched attack on the Kinburn Spit as well as in the islands region. According to the information from Rybar, the pro-Russian source reported that there is an attempt to land a commando force or special force or marines or whatever you call it. They call it the sabotage and reconnaissance group in the Kinburn Spit. And two of the landing boats got destroyed, at least 10 soldiers got killed. And there is, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they also reported something similar. They reported in the island regions of the Dnieper River, which is the Delta region, they prevented Ukrainian troops from trying to land on the left bank of the river. So there is some kind of attack from the Ukrainians trying to get some kind of victory. Unfortunately, both attacks have not been successful. So this is the Kinburn Spit. This is actually, it looks like some kind of a tongue of a lizard or chameleon. And then this is the Delta region with a lot of islands all around here. So the Ukrainians did try to attack in these two locations. Both didn't work. So unfortunately the bad news is going to continue, and this even triggered Deep State UA into writing some pretty angry stuff, which I'm not going to share. So and over in the Kherson region, the Russian forces are attacking in the direction of the Dnipropetrovsk, pre-Dnipropetrovsk direction in this region here. Shelling was reported at Sadove, Tokarivka, Ivanivka, and Tyakhinka. Shelling reports come from both the Russian and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, two. So two of them is reported by the Russians, two of them is reported by the Ukrainians. So that's all from the Kherson front. We move into the Zaporizhia front. At the Zaporizhia front, there is fighting reported at Robotine. So we haven't seen fighting at the Robotine in the Orikhiv sector in a long time. The last attack was reported on the 7th of August. After 20 days, the Russians starting to push out. Probably. We shall see how this goes if this is a sustained attack. The fighting in the Mala Tomashka region continues. So this sector continues to be pretty quiet at this moment. I would say it's still pretty stagnant, but we shall wait and see. Who knows, there is a surprise for us in a few days time or in a week's time. Suddenly all of this become all red for unknown reasons, because no one cares to tell us things. So there's the rest of the Zaporizhia front is pretty much quiet. We move into the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, there is still continuing to have this weird report about fighting in the Grovdone region or direction. So so that's that. And the Prashestivka situation is starting to get a bit more serious. Because we are already seeing 25th to 27th of August, we see the attack, 19th to the 21st, the 17th, 15th, 12th, 13th. So there is some kind of a sustained attack in the Prashestivka region, and this reported by both Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry previously. Now latest is by the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians made it pretty clear. They said that the Russians stormed their positions near Prashestivka, and this looks like there is some kind of a offensive happening around here. Prashestivka is a pretty important place tactically in this region here, because it links all the way up to Novoyukrenka, and in Zolotan Neva is pretty important as well, as it links all the way to Shetaske. But Novoyukrenka is going to be the more of a priority for now, because this is part of the inner circle all the way that's going around Voleda. And the Russians are already attacking towards Vodian at this moment, and fighting reported at Voleda continues as the Ukrainian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry, including Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, is talking about the fighting near Voleda and the Vodiane region. So this is getting a bit serious around here. And over at the Vodiane region, the Russian forces have secured more of the highway, with two more vector of attack completing their mission around here. And however, they still need to clear up this salient around here, which most likely there is no more Ukrainian forces over here. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation. There are some rumors about Russians already starting to attack Vodiane, but I cannot confirm this. My trusted sources didn't talk about it. So it's also important to note, especially for the pro-Russian guys, from my experience, there are channels. There are channels that report fake news, because like maybe they want the views, maybe they want the publicity, maybe they want to be well known or well liked. I'm not sure, and they preempt actions. They make projections and report it as if it's real. There are also instances that I experienced before, which I highly condemn, where they write elaborate stories to make it look super real, and basically I went on a PR war, a war of sort, to discredit them, because those are fake news, like literally just fake information. So you just have to be careful, keep track. If you're going to believe someone that is always reporting something that is much faster than me, then you need to keep track of their reporting and see whether their information get corroborated in a few days' time. Because if it does not, then they are reporting fake news to you. There's something important to note. So, and the situation continues. So over at the Konstantinivka, this is one of the big news around here, which is also part of the reason why I want to go anti-clockwise and put the Kursk front at the very, very last, because so much big actions over the Donetsk region. And the Ryba reported that the Russian forces have liberated, they use the word liberated, or rather captured Konstantinivka. And they installed the flag on the southern and the western part. So with these two regions, this raised flag in these two regions, and there is Russian forces in the north as well. And given the fact that there's a trio over this region here, there's a very, 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 very super high chance that the Russians have fully captured Konstantinivka. However, this is not corroborated by the Ukrainian side yet. So I want to put the confirmation, the DPS confirmation, when I think over the next 24 hours or next 12 hours, even Ukrainian side concede the loss of Konstantinivka, then I would actually declare Konstantinivka captured. Because this part here, if you can see this highlighted zone, this area here is still a Russian claim. This is not exactly a confirmed capture yet. This is only based on Russian mapping, which is why Konstantinivka is not fully captured until there is some kind of confirmation, because there's a possibility that the Ukrainians still have this line. They are still having part of the Konstantinivka region. They may be sending reinforcement to fight. Who knows? So I'm not going to jump the gun. So that is what it is. Fighting is reported in the direction of Katerinivka, which is probably coming from this area here, south of Konstantinivka. So something to continue to monitor, but the high chances that Konstantinivka actually has fallen to the Russians. And if this is the case, then we're going to see a very huge shift in the strategic situation, which means that this entire area now turns into a more advantageous posture for the Russians than the Ukrainians, because now you're going to have the Russians eventually, they're going to have this entire line, and this line is connected by the highway. And this, which means that they are going to have much more better connectivity, where they can actually send forces to and fro more easily. Whereas the Ukrainians is going to be stuck in a chain of settlements, and this chain of settlements, in between is all farmlands, and it's much more harder to go to move things around, move troops, ammo, food, whatever, and they would have to continue to send forces to plug these difficult holes in these lines. And this would also could be the places where the Russians could break out or ignore, as the Russians just go through the entire settlement and render all these troops that is hiding in these tree lines irrelevant. That is also possible. So but logistically, it's just harder for the Ukrainians right now. If Konstantinivka entirely falls and the Russians have full control over the entire highway, which most likely is going to be the case, then Russians is going to have fantastic logistic around this area, and this is going to just collapse the front much more faster. But of course, the Ukrainians have a lot of defenses and entrenchment around this area. Kurakovka is actually Ukrainians' forward operating position. This is the HQ, and so this area here will still be the prime target. As you can see, it's very, very heavily defended in this region here, Kurakove. So over at the Krasnohorivka region, Russian forces are attacking at Georgievka, Krasnohorivka region, and for the first time, probably since forever, fighting reported in the area of Staromihailivka. So I think the last time we have something fighting, this name reported was probably in the first year of the war. And this time around, this is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And it looks like the Russians may be starting an offensive in the Staromihailivka region and starting to push in the south of Nevelsky. That could be a possibility. So this will be a new vector of attack because the Ukrainians have lost its linchpin in Krasnohorivka, as the Russians have already taken it. And the Russians are already pushing out in this area here. So without Krasnohorivka, you can totally see how far this is for the Ukrainians to reinforce themselves. 10 kilometers to or 11 kilometers to Nevelsky is one hell of a far, and not to mention the areas northwest of Staromihailivka. This could become a weak spot, and the Ukrainian forces over these regions may just may just retreat. But these are some very heavy entrenched positions. As you can see, these are all pre-war Civil War level era entrenchments. So these entrenchments here probably will be much better built, but the problem is this is very, very far up front, and the Russians could just overrun them if the Ukrainians do not have enough troops around here to defend. This area has been a very, very quiet region, so I suspect that the Ukrainians may neglect this area here because it has always been so quiet. So we move into the north towards the Pokrov front. In the Khalivka, South Pokrov and South Pokrov direction. So this Pokrov front, but in the south Pokrov sector, the Russian forces are attacking in Khalivka region. They have captured Kalinove and captured Memrik. Russian forces have taken all this region, and there is geolocation of Russian forces raising their flags. And they have also taken Memrik as well as the half of Mihailivka, as the Russian forces push down all the way, and they are now going to reach a new line of Ukrainian settlements, and looks like I have a very strong feeling that Ukrainians are not going to defend this line anymore, because the defense line I believe they should defend is over at Memrik leading to Khalivka along the forest and whatnot. The fact that they don't defend this highway, or they are unable to defend the highway. In fact, I don't think they're defending at all because of the fall of the Memrik is way too fast. The Ukrainians are going to struggle to defend this line around here. This line is never meant to be attacked from the north. I think this line is supposed to defend an attack from the east. So from coming from the north, I think the Ukrainians are going to struggle. As you can see, the entrenchment is in the south. The entrenchments are all mostly in the south. They are south facing. They're expecting an attack coming from the south. But now the Russians are coming from the north, which is a problem. So the Ukrainians are not going to be able to hold this line very, very strongly, I feel. And I believe that we might see a collapse of this entire area very, very soon. I think we're going to see this collapse because logistically, this or strategically or tactically, this is just too complicated for the Ukrainians to hold. So we shall see. We shall see how this goes. I can be wrong, but this is just my perception of things. So moving up north over at the set phase front, the set phase is very sad right now because the Russian forces have captured everything south of Novohorodivka, as well as corroborating the Russian mapping by the Ukrainian side. The Russian forces have taken the heavy stronghold as well as capturing all of the Novohorodivka region with very, very little fighting. And which means that the Ukrainians have basically bolted from this region here. They have retreated, and I'm not sure how far they're gonna go. As I mentioned, the front line around this region is very difficult to defend because the entire tactical situation has just messed up by the Russians. It doesn't look like there's any place good to defend. and the Selidove is already under threat. So if Selidove falls, the entire region will be extremely destabilized, because Selidove is actually one of the key settlements that is supporting the operation around this region. It has a railway station at Vishneve, which helps to bring in forces to this region here. And now, of course, it can't be used anymore. And the fighting is already going to Selidove region, as per reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So the situation is already very, very bad. The Russians are already entering. Some mappings I see on Twitter claim that the Russians are already inside. I'm not so bullish, because I prefer to stick to my own trusted sources. So, in the northern part of Novohorodivka, Russian forces have been geolocated in the northern part, and this confirms that they have firmly controlled this region, and there is only very, very little bit of Novohorodivka left. So this Novo, which is new, horrible, difficult man face, is dying. The blood is now going up his nose, and it's going to hit his brains, and the brain will explode into confettis. So over at the Kuzuravka region, Russian forces are attacking Krasny Yar. At this region, there is geolocation of Russian forces under fire. So this is happening. So the Russians are attacking in the two-pronged attack in this region here. And the Russians are going to go down. I believe this is a railway line. So they're going to go down this railway line heading up towards Pokrov. And in this area here, they're going to hit Mykolaiivka, which is surrounded by some very heavy entrenchments, according to some mappings. So some entrenchment mapping. This entrenchment mapping, this yellow line, is not done by me. So we shall see how this go. And in the situation at Horodivka, fighting is reported at this region here. There is rumors that Horodivka has fallen. I have no idea. No, let's see tomorrow if they are scamming people or not. With all this very bullish information, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Because I haven't mapped in today's report, and clearly, yesterday, this past 24 hours or 36 hours, shit ton of things happened, and no, I may be wrong. No, maybe this past 12 hours has also been crazy. That's also possible. So but anyway, this is a SITREP. This is a summary of the previous day. So wait for my frontline changes report. Let things develop. Then I can actually summarize things better. So there is fighting reported at Marolubivka. The continued fighting being reported here do suggest that Novotoretsky most likely is under Russian control. Clearly, it is not defendable. There's hardly anything to defend around here. Probably these few buildings, but this seems like this is part of Marolubivka. So anyway, fighting is reported in this region. So let's see. Over at the northern part of the Pokrov front, Russian forces are attacking towards Zelenipole. I think I zoom in too much, man. Zelenipole, Novo Alexandrivka, as well as Vozdevizhenka. This continues to be a pinning operation. I don't think this is offensive. This is just pinning operation to pin Ukrainian forces into defending this area, so that they can't go anywhere else to defend other parts. So they have to react and hold this front in this region, because if this front breaks, the Russians could also go into some kind of a crazy route of the Ukrainian forces in this area, which is going to be bad as well. So, and which will then collapse the Thorax front even faster. So let's see how this goes. Over at the New York front, Russian forces are attacking in multiple directions at Oleksandropil, Sukabalka, New York, Nelipivka, at Thorax, and there is some major developments over in the Thorax area. The third attack, the third vector of attack. So this is the first one, then the second one. The third vector of attack has now came true, as I have analyzed. Most likely going to happen. Russian forces have now break through the cemetery, and taking part of the southern part of the Dacha region. And based on, as like I mentioned in the frontline changes report, even the most conservative line is still around 800-900 meters gap. So there is unlikely to be any Ukrainian forces is going to want to defend this area, as per the collapse here is a bit too fast, and the mapping is actually extremely vague, which means that the Ukrainians actually is in a mass withdrawal in this in this area here. So I don't expect the Ukrainians to be stuck in the salient around here. This pincer movement is going to close. The Russians is going to form up a strong line around here as they continue to make the push into thorax from another direction, as the Russians are already pushing from the high-rise zone. So and from the east. So let's see how this develop over in thorax. So we move on to the Bakhmut front. At the southern flank of the Bakhmut front, Russian forces are attacking in the area of Ivanivsky, Klishchiivka, as well as Andriivka. So that's all from this region. There is not much updates we know of in this area here, as this is now starting to be a pretty neglected front. No one want to talk about it. There's fighting in the northern flank. There's reports of fighting at Kharkovka. In Chasivia, there is a Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian position. So that's all for the Chasivia situation. We move further up north. There is a geolocation of a tank getting struck and destroyed by the FPV drone of Novomakove. So not very important, but it just shows that the Ukrainians still treat this area seriously. They have tanks. So yeah, so they're not giving up exactly, just yet. Over at the Sivers front, the Russian forces continue their offensive in Verkhem-Okanyamsky, Ivano-Darivka, Vimka, as well as Kuzminivka. Surprise! How So anyway, the Russian Defense Ministry mentioned this. They say that their Yoke group of forces have taken advantageous line and position, defeated manpower hardware at Kuzminovka. So it could be just shelling report. It could be just shelling. It may not necessarily be, it could be FPV drone attacks. It may not necessarily be a ground offensive, but it's something to take note, because we haven't had any frontline changes in this area for a long time. There is always a possibility that the Russians already have a more advanced line in Perezhny, and they are now attacking into Kuzminivka. There is a possibility. So I don't want to I just want to highlight that there's this possibility. So anyway, we move into the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, Russian forces are attacking in the Serbiansky forestry towards Novosadove and Nevsky. So this is going to be nothing burger. Don't expect much from the Crimea front. And we move up to the Sviatove front. At the Sviatove front, we have fighting reported towards Druzhelyubivka. The entire area here is getting more and more quiet. We move into the Pischany region. At the Pischany region, Pischany front, we have fighting reported towards Kolesnivkivka, Tabaivka, as well as Stemakivka. So the battle around this region continues. We shall see and know how far the Russians can go. Over at the Kupiansk front, there is fighting reported at Stepova, Novoselivka, as well as Sinkivka. So it's interesting to see Stepova, Novoselivka again, but so far this front line has always been pretty stagnant, so I'm not expecting much things from this area here. So we move on to the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, things start to look more or less the same, but it feels a bit more angrier. There is fighting reported at Voschansk, Starisia, Klipoke, and Lipsy. So generally, it's still the same few directions of fighting. Not exactly surprising per se. However, there is geolocation of some shelling of Ukrainian positions within the high-rise zone. So the Ukrainians are still in the Q box. They still have not left the Q box. They're still holding the line around here. I'm not sure for what. So they can't break out. They can't break out from this area here, but then staying there also get shelled. It's very, very weird. There's no creativity, put it that way. So over at the near Zuralevka, there is a geolocation of the Russian helicopter guided missile strike on Ukrainian position just off the border. So there is this border village here, and it got struck by a helicopter guided missile. So the Russians struck it. So yeah, that's about it. We move on. There is a geolocation of another strike on Ukrainian positions at Baranivka. So not very important. And we move into the Kudus front. At the Kudus front, before we go to the front line, the Russian forces blew up a bridge very far away, north of Otieka over and Klementove. So there is this bridge on the Voskla River, and they blew this up. So this is a very interesting. Like if you go around the river, the next crossing is pretty far away. Is over here. The next crossing over here. So the Russians blew up this bridge. So there must. So it does feels like there is some objective that the Russians are trying to do right now, maybe preventing reinforcement from coming up, or or something. No, let's wait and see. No, this is a very unusual thing to do because the bridge is so far away from the front lines. So no, let's just wait. There is geolocation of a Lancer hitting a radar. There is another HIMARS that was destroyed over at Stepanivka. So and a bunch of the shelling which I'll talk last. We go into the southern front or southern flank of the Kursk front. And the Russian forces and Ukrainians continue to clash over at Borky, with Ukrainian forces geolocated inside Borky itself. So Ukrainians still hold Borky. Russians are also shelling or attacking Blakovo. So the southern flank continue to be in this very low intensity feeling kind of fighting in this region here. Over at the Sudja sector, the Ukrainians are geolocated to be shelled or drone strike within Sudja. And the Russians are attacking Mihailovka. And so that's about it. And there's some shelling over at Budanovka and Kozacha Loknia. So this is the situation over at Sudja region. And the shelling here does suggest that the Ukrainians have some operating HQ around here, or forward operating position, or just a gathering point in this area here. So let's watch and see how this goes. Sudja become pretty quiet after the Ukrainians failed to take Ruskaya Konopelka and this Chekatskaya Konopelka region. So they are unable to break through here. So these fronts become quiet. And before I move on, I just noticed, even though I've been reading this every day, I just noticed that the server group of forces is actually in charge of the Kursk front for the Russians. This has been the case since the 10th of August. So the fighting first was reported on the 6th. So on the 6th, 4 days later, the server group of forces took over command of the Kursk front. However, it probably took some time for them to reorientate and move their forces around. So the server group of forces is also the group of forces that's in charge of the fighting at the Kharkiv front. So the server group of forces actually have their duties expanded. So which means that the Kursk front has basically also become part of the special military operation. And how I noticed this was because in the yesterday's Russian situation report, or the summary for yesterday's report, it was the first time that I saw reports about the Sumy region, or that is relating to the fighting in the Kursk region, being noted inside the main summary, because the main summary don't talk about the Kursk front. They have a separate report for the Kursk front. So that actually caught my attention, which is why I just noticed it. So anyway, this will continue the report. Moving into this eastern flank. And the eastern flank, the Ukrainian forces are attacking Chukatskoye Parashnoye region. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces just off Ruskoye Parashnoye. An armored vehicle got destroyed by the Russians. The Ukrainians are still trying to push Malaya Loknia. Russian forces are attacking Viktorovka, and they are attacking in the region of Krylenkoye. So this is the current situation, and they are shelling this region, this area called Novo Ivanovka. So which is a Ukrainian position supporting, I think, the other side, the western flank. So this is the most northern extent of the Ukrainian actions. There is no more northern flank. This northern flank, there's not much fighting around here. We still have geolocation of Russian airstrike on Ukrainian position and FPV drone strike on Ukrainian tank, which means that at least the Ukrainians are still in this region here. However, this northern area here now become very suspicious. There's a high chance that the Russians have already retaken all these positions, given the lack of fighting being reported around here. But we can't be sure. Some Russian mapping seems to draw that way, but I haven't really updated the mapping to reflect that, because I feel like there's a lot of cope involved so I don't want to commit into it just yet. But this is a high possibility that this is the case. But we will continue to monitor because I don't want to just jump the gun. What most likely we'll be looking for the northern flank is concession from the Ukrainian side to acknowledge, in their next map update from this region here. Deep State UA has not been updating the Kursk region because there's nothing to update, nothing changes over there. So we shall wait a bit more. And if there is a clear geolocation of Russian forces in the southern positions, for example, in this area, then we will know that the Russians have already moved south and taken the entire northern flank. So let's wait and see. Over on this northwestern flank, basically the original western flank, the Khernivo region, Ukrainian forces are attacking Ogrovka as well as Kremyanoe. They are still trying to clash with the Russians in this line, and they still have not broke the line, which is quite disturbing. Ukrainian forces geolocated here. I believe I've mentioned this already in the frontline changes report or the SITREP the day before. So that's all from this region. Basically, just the Ukrainians confirmed to be in this area here, but it's not very, very big deal. So that's all from the Khernivo region, and we move to the western flank. At the western flank, this area is pretty complicated. The Russians have conceded Byatkovo as well as Gordievka as under Ukrainian control. So which means that they conceded that the Ukrainians have taken this area here. So this will change the front line as per these concessions. Ukrainians are now attacking towards Kubaki. Kubaki is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. So the Ukrainians have indeed come to this point as per geolocated previously. So the Ukrainians are pushing here. And the Russians are attacking in the region of 10Y Otebel, Panosovka, and Snagos, while the Ukrainians are still pushing Krasno-Otebolsky as well as in the western part of Vishnevka. And the Russians still hold Komarovka and probably still semi-hold Krasno-Otebolsky. So this is actually very surprising thing. I expected the Ukrainians to actually break through this area here. I expected them to be successful, but somehow they are unable to break through, and it's a surprise to me, which might suggest that the Ukrainians are struggling to put up a strong punch, a strong force to break through. They are now trying in the south. Maybe they will get better luck around here. So let's see whether they can get this luck. But the Glushkovo encirclement or pincer movement is now dying with every single day. The longer they take, the worse the chances of success is, because we are expecting the Ukrainians to push through Tekino and push through this western flank and then do a pincer on Glushkovo, and then they will capture a big chunk of Russian territory, which for this massive PR victory, which is the toilet I had been talking about. This is the toilet, but the toilet, they never arrived at the toilet and the shit just came out into the pants. So that's the problem around here. And based on the information from the pro-Russian side, now the Russians are putting new pontoons, and this time now they have a location at Zvianoe. So the Russians are now putting pontoon bridges around here, and the Ukrainians are starting to strike all the different crossings. This is only the only one reported with location. There's probably other crossings in other places where the Ukrainians are still trying to blow them up. So, but the Russians are not giving up this area here. They're not giving up. They're not going to give the Ukrainians this PR victory, and this is going to be a disaster. And the Ukrainians still have not launched an attack through Tekino, which is a surprise to me. So because they could have diverted Russian attention into this area here and allow the Ukrainians to have more leeway to break through over on this side. But it didn't. This didn't happen. So I'm not sure what's the delay coming from. And the Russians continue to strike on Vrozba, Bilopilia, as well as this settlement. What is this settlement? Atinsky, which is just off the border. The Russians continue to strike the Ukrainian forces as they continue to wait for the order to go in. And this is bad. And Katerinivka also got hit. So if the Ukrainians still continue to drag on and not take action, their troops are going to just keep dying without fighting. And this is just playing into Russian hands. So, but then of course go in, they also die, but at least they go in and get some PR victory, right? So at least no, you die for something. So there's a problem right here in this area. At Kindrativka, there is a HIMARS destroyed. So Stepanivka is also a HIMARS. So there's two HIMARS that was destroyed in these two regions here. So all the HIMARS are gone. I'm not sure why they bring the HIMARS so far up to the front lines. So no, yeah. Imagine HIMARS have been successfully hidden for so long and conducting strikes on the Russians, giving them troubles. Now the HIMARS are also revealed and so easily detected. What the hell, man? Unless there's a possibility that the Ukrainians has used up all their long-range missiles, and what they have left is shorter-range missiles, and this forced the Ukrainians to push the HIMARS further up front to support operations. And if that's the case, then it's pretty disastrous as well, don't you think? So and then we move into this this region. We have to give this place a name. What should this name be? I don't know, Khrushchev region. So after Khrushchev, so in the Khrushchev region, the Russians continue to bombard Ukrainian positions over at Baranivka, what is this called? Putorhorod, Povomaisky, Esman, and Olivka. And it seems like there is also a grouping of Ukrainian forces around here that is looking to do something, and they are also getting destroyed on the ground without doing anything. And let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. There's all these rumors about Ukrainians going to launch some massive offensive, but it doesn't seem to be happening yet. And the Russians are taking a lot of victories. So many settlements got captured over the past few days. A very, very big disaster. So anyway, thank you for watching. This is the summary for the day of 916 for the 27th of August. Do press the like button, subscribe, and yes, hopefully this video will have more views. And I'll see you guys in the next update.